Behind the Guitar is brought to you by the Martin Guitar Foundation, RCN, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Recorded live from the campus of Steel Stacks in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Ladies and gentlemen, our host, Craig Thatcher.
On this episode of Behind the Guitar, we welcome an artist who began his career playing a 5-string banjo and acoustic guitar while working as a recording artist with a who's who of the singer-songwriter community. Please join me as we go behind the guitar with Mr. Herb Peterson.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being with us, Herb.
Thank you, Craig.
It's
nice to be here.
Real pleasure.
Yeah.
Why don't you start off with one of your tunes?
A little tune here,
Yeah.
okay? This is actually written about my little girl who was 3 at the time. She's 42 now. So it's called Our Baby's Gone. It goes like this. I put our little baby to bed last night. She was sleeping real good, so I tucked her in tight. I looked at her once and I looked at her twice. Her little legs are longer and I'm running out of time. The boys are gonna chase her, I'll be standing in line. Our baby's gone. Up at 7:30 she comes into our room. She wants to make her breakfast, but she can't find her spoon. She wakes and tries to shake the Sandman out of our eyes. She's already got her clothes on, much to our surprise. She did it all herself and we realize our baby's gone. 3 years old and she's queen of the world. Humpty Dumpty's falling down. Little Jack Horner's on the boredom border. Oh, Mama, what do we do now? Playing outside, her little face to the wind. The hours go by, her strength is wearing thin. She doesn't call for daddy, she's a big girl now. Her mama looks in wonder and we don't know how. How our baby girl escaped us, no more cuddling now. Our baby's gone. 3 years old and she's queen of the world. Humpty Dumpty's falling down. Little Jack Horner's on the boredom border. Oh, Mama, what do we do now? Our baby's gone. Our baby's gone. One more time. Thank you.
That was fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
was
growing up in the Berkeley area, a lot of music happening while you were young?
Yes, not particularly when I was real young, but we had lots of radio stations that played all different kinds of things. Jazz, country music, a couple of stations that played real country music, which was not my forte at that point. I really liked early rock and roll. I would listen to the Everly Brothers and Elvis and Carl Perkins and those people. And so I didn't really get into folk and country stuff until I was probably in high school.
Okay.
So that was kind of the beginning for me.
And your first instrument, what was that?
It was this.
It was
a
a guitar.
My mom had a little Stella guitar that she learned on when she was a kid. And I found it in her closet one day. And I said, oh, what's this? I was about 7 or 8. And she said, oh, here, let me show you a chord. And so she put it, I'm a lefty,
naturally, but she put it in my my hands the right way. So I learned right-handed, but I am left-handed. So, and I'm not ambidextrous. So it was a little bit of a struggle, but I got a few chords down. And my buddy Butch Waller, who I went to grammar school with, he had a guitar too, and so we started learning just the rudimentary two-part harmony songs by Don and Phil Everly, which really helped a lot because the songs were very simple but beautiful at the same time, easy to understand, and their singing was just amazing to me.
Beautiful melodies.
Yes. Oh,
and
my
the
gosh.
harmonies.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah. So anything that we could find on the radio that sounded kind of like them, we would just glom onto that and just kind of learn new chords and, kind of building your repertoire as you go along.
So you began your singing at the same time as playing guitar.
Yes,
So
yeah.
that was just as important, probably.
It was, yeah. And Butch had a good lead voice, and I just had an ear for harmony, and so I would just, jump on the higher part, and so, yeah, that's kind of the way it started for me.
So then, once you're playing for a while and singing, you I'm assuming, like many others, you want to get into a band and start playing out. So what was your first experience in that regard?
First band was actually a bluegrass band called the Pine Valley Boys. So I had switched from guitar to five-string banjo when I was about 16. And by the time I was 18, I had a couple of years under my belt playing the five-string. And we had a little band in the Bay Area, and we were kind of one of the first bluegrass bands to ever play in San Francisco, which was in North Beach. That was kind of the artist colony, if you will.
And this is before Jefferson Airplane and the whole San Francisco rock.
Well, I first saw Janis Joplin. We played in a little place called Coffee and Confusion on Grant Street. It was right off Columbus and Broadway. And we were 17, 18 years old, and Janis came in just as a solo artist, and she played auto harp and sang folk tunes. And she had a really nice voice. Yeah, it was a great play. And Lenny Bruce would come up and watch us play. Between his sets, he'd come walk up the street, and it was all real local right there.
Why don't you play us another song?
Okay, let's see. This is the slower version of one called Hey Boys. It goes like this. When I was a young man, lived along the Merrimack, washed in the river when the water ran clean. I waited for the day I could buy me a Cadillac and see a lot of things that I never have seen. Hey, 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 boys, I think I'm getting old. Sitting by the fire when the weather gets cold. I don't care. Down around the farm, and another little drink won't do us any harm. Rare back, talk about your politics, fight about religion, and worry about war. I'll sit spitting in the fireplace and pour a little cider when your throat gets sore. Hey, 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 boys, I think I'm getting old. Sitting by the fire when the weather gets cold. I don't care. Down around the farm, and another little drink won't do us any harm. And another little drink won't do us any harm. And another little drink won't do us any harm. Thank you.
So you're with the Dillards. At the same time, are you doing recording sessions at this point?
Yes, I started really the Dillards were my first major band that I recorded with. They were on Elektra Records back then, and this was their third album they were doing, and that's when I joined them. And word of mouth is very big in the singer-songwriter, community. And we had just finished the album, and Linda Ronstadt heard part of it because she was a neighbor of Rodney or something like that, and she heard some of the and she liked the singing, so I got a call to work on her first albums, and so that's how it happens.
Was that with the Stone Ponies, or was this
No, it was
solo
after. It was
afterwards?
like hand sewn homegrown.
Okay.
Those,
okay.
yeah. And so the first single that I sang with her was Silver Threads and Golden Needles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You know that one.
Yeah. And that was produced by John Boylan. And so it was all very community stuff. We all knew each other, and, what are you doing next week? Can you come in and help us out on this tune? Yes. It was all very closely knit. A lot of us lived in the canyons, Topanga or Laurel Canyon. And there's a great book out, by the way. It's called Canyon of Dreams, I think it's called. It's a coffee table book.
Yes.
And it really is an excellent documentary of what was going on back then, and pictures of everybody. We were all so young, my gosh.
It's a great book.
Yeah, it is a cool book.
They've recently released it in paperback.
Oh, they did?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But I have the original hardback one.
Yeah.
That's
So,
really good.
Yeah.
There's a nice section on you in that book.
There was, yeah. It was very nice of them to do that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So Dillard's
Yeah.
and recording sessions.
Started with Linda, and then it branched off to just people like, Diana Ross, Sammy Johns. Do you remember him?
Yeah.
Chevy Van.
Wow. Yeah.
And,
You're
just,
on that song.
Yes.
Oh.
And just lots of different stuff. And then Emmy comes to town, Emmylou Harris, and she starts recording for Warner Brothers out there. And so Linda said, "Oh, you got to get Herb to sing on, blah, blah, blah." And so, they were pals, and so that's just how it happens,
Did you, were you acquainted with Graham Parsons as well?
Yeah, I worked on Grievous Angel and I think a couple of singles that he did right toward the end of his career. And so I didn't know him socially, but he was always there at the sessions that we were doing. And it was basically session guys,
Sure.
Ed Green on drums, maybe Lee Sklar on bass.
Oh, yeah.
Bernie Ledden played electric guitar on a few things, and David Lindley played fiddle on a few things. So it was just all
you folks getting together and musical harmony. That's
Yes.
pretty much, there's competition there, but
Yeah.
yet you worked with each other, because
Yeah.
in many areas of the country today, you go around and you don't find that.
No, you don't. It was different then, too, because you had what they call budgets in the music business, where the label would give you a certain amount of money to go in and make a record, and then if you played your cards right, you could actually go in and develop tunes in the studio and then record them and still come out, pretty well on your budget. Nowadays, what major labels do is they just give you the bare bones minimum, and you have to know the tunes before you go in, and there's little time to fool around, and experiment.
How about another song?
Okay.
We got you here. We'd love to hear you.
Okay. Let's see. Let's do, this is a tune by John Ims, I-M-S. And he's a songwriter. I think he's in Nashville. I'm not sure. But I remember this tune from a singer-songwriter in L.A. years ago, recorded it. And it's called Two of a Kind. And it's about a guy who goes on the road for a living as a singer, and the loneliness that you feel after many years of doing it. And I kind of know what he's talking about. Being on the road without a friend makes you feel life's loneliness in a voice that rides the wind, streaming across the airways in a simple country song, one that you don't hear until the moon is full and bright.
Well, it's Texas once again. One about the good old boys who caught remembering images of childhood and the places that he's been. Locked inside his questions, wondering where it all would end. Another midnight on that highway, Houston in the distance. Seems I'm always leaving love behind. Singing along with someone whose soul is on the radio. Sounds like me and the good old boy are two of a kind. Bedding down in a cheap hotel keeps you in touch with the emptiness the pickers know too well. Comes on when you drop your boots and sit up on the bed, trying to keep them thoughts from dancing all around your head. So you fumble with the dial till you hear that melody singing sad and sweet. There you are again with him somewhere down the line, feeling just a little bit better when you hear his guitar whine. Another midnight on that highway, Houston in the distance. Seems I'm always leaving love behind. Singing along with someone whose soul is on the radio. Sounds like me and the good old boy are two of a kind. Sounds like me and the good old boy are two of a kind.
We're going to talk to our good friend and my mentor on acoustic guitars, Mr. Dick Boak, and we're going to ask him about some of the tone woods and things that make the guitars you play so special. So I'd like to turn it over to Dick Boak.
All righty.
So the guitar that Herb is playing is a D18. It's a pretty quintessential dreadnought guitar. The dreadnought was named after a class of British battleships. In 1930, the dreadnought changed from a 12 fret to a 14 fret model, and arrived basically at what we think of today as the modern American guitar. The dreadnought is the most popular instrument in the world, having exceeded the piano. It was played by Hank Williams and Elvis Presley and Paul McCartney, and most importantly, by Herb Peterson. I should tell you, this is mahogany back and sides, spruce top. The combination of these woods gives a bright, crisp, projective treble response, not real heavy on the thick bass, but still very powerful in the bass response, and doesn't get much better than this.
Thanks, Dick. So you mentioned Chris, and he's a friend, very close friend of yours, and
Yes.
a friend of ours as well.
Yes.
And could you talk a little bit about your acquaintance and relationship? And
Sure. Well, we met. He was in a bluegrass group called the Scottsville Squirrel Barkers when he started, and I had a band in the Bay Area called the Pine Valley Boys. And we came down to L.A. to play in a bluegrass festival, and that's when we met each other at that festival.
quite young, you were quite
Yeah,
young.
1963. Yeah, so we've known each other about 51 years.
So when did you get involved with the Desert Rose Band?
Well, Dan Fogelberg was doing a project in 1984 called High Country Snows. It was an album that we cut in Nashville. He called me up, and I went down to Nashville and recorded with him. And there were a lot of stellar players on there, David Grisman and Jerry Douglas, and you know, lots of folks that were really great. And he was going to do a tour to support the album after it came out. And so he had run into Chris, I think, up in Colorado. Chris was up there doing a show. And he asked Chris to put a band together to open for Dan on this tour. So Chris and Bill Bryson, our bass player in the Desert Rose Band, and John Jorgensen had a little trio, and they were working in LA and around the country. And Chris called me to join the band and play banjo. So that was the nucleus of the Desert Rose Band. It was the best electric band I've ever been in, and it was just a wonderful experience. So we had a good run. We had a nice 8-year run, had some hits, and
Well, it's just wonderful to be. Isn't music the kind of thing that, you know, as we grow older, you find that there's more and more that you're still learning, and you're still evolving, still developing in new areas and new things, and it's almost like you I hate to say the word reinvent, but you do that every so often. You kind of reinvent yourself.
Yes, I think you have to as a player. I don't play the banjo as fast as I used to, but I think I play it better than I used to, just because of what I choose to play. It's not how many notes you can play, it's what notes you choose not to play that kind of make a difference.
Yeah. How about it, folks? One more song from her, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you. This is for all of you folks out there who have to go on the road for a living. You know what I'm talking about. It's called Wait a Minute. Play along,
Wait a minute, did I hear you say you're going far away again? Try to change it, I can't take the lonely nights without your love. Out doing the road, get the music done and move along. What good does it do? Play your songs for her and hear her sing. Wait a minute, did I hear you say you're going far away again? Try to change it, I can't take the lonely nights without your love. You're rolling along, life's been good to you, but even so, she comes to you late at night's a time you hear her say, once again, wait a minute, did I hear you say you're going far away again? Try to change it, I can't take the lonely nights without your love. Waiting for you 30 days and nights without a rest. I gotta hold on, 25 to go, and once again I'll hear you say, hey, wait a minute, did I hear you say you're going far away again? Try to change it. I can't take the lonely nights without your love. Wait a minute, did I hear you say you're going far away again? Try to change it, I can't take the lonely nights without your love.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Herb Peterson.
Thank you.
It's been a tremendous
Thanks,
honor and
Craig.
pleasure having you on with us today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
Thank you for coming today, folks. Hope you liked the show. And until next time, I'm Craig Thatcher for Behind the Guitar.